I'm not sure that you're aware of this, especially if you didn't live in Hungary throughout the socialist period, but there was a radio station called the Free Europe radio station during that period. The fun thing about it is that it was located in West Germany, I believe, fairly close to the Iron Curtain, but not too close. And they were broadcasting things, music from the western portion of the world, news from, again, the western portion of the world, and all sorts of crazy things. Of course, the Hungarian government didn't like that, because it was all about how the West is cool and how the East is quite horrible. And the government wanted to convince people that the East is much better. There was a saying, actually, throughout this whole period, an official saying that referred to the Western part of the world as the dying capitalism. And whenever the Western countries came up, they just referred to them as like, oh yeah, that's a dying capitalist country. They've got a couple of years anyway, or whatever. There was part of this idea that made them borrow quite a lot of money from the Western part, because they will die anyways, so who cares? And that's why Hungary is in a tremendous amount of debt that will take about 100 years to pay back. But that's irrelevant at the moment. Free Europe Radio. The radio signal itself was jammed. So if you imagine yourself a basic radio with the knob, trying to turn it it was really hard to tune into the frequency of that radio station. And it was very, very horrible, the signal itself, because it was jammed. But this station was in Hungarian, located in a different country, seemingly in a portion of the world that was better off than Hungary. And that was way before Facebook. I'm not comparing it to Facebook, but it was definitely information coming in. And information did not really go out, so people didn't really know what was going on in Hungary. And this followed the whole thing even to today, because it seems quite unimaginable what life was like during the socialist period in Hungary. And since the socialist period continued way after 1989, because you can't really change the attitude of people, and still to this day there are remnants of that old system, but not the radio. The radio was shut down after 1989 because there was no use for it anymore. Western music and clothing items and all that sort of, even cars, just flooded the country. And back then, the way it worked was very simple. Germany was usually the leading economy of Europe. Most of the time. It still is, but I don't know much about modern history, but back then. And what happened was that German people switched to a newer car and exported all the old cars to Hungary and to other countries as well, but we are talking about Hungary here. So some people, following this change in the system, started to buy these used cars because it was not frowned upon anymore, and it was much cheaper since the economy was in ruins. So technically, these people had what Hungarians called Western cars. And this notion, this way of thinking, continued well beyond the 90s and the 2000s. And still to this day, there is this thing that whoever moves to a Western country or whoever lives there must be insanely rich compared to Hungarians. Now, you and I know that it's not true. That's not how the world works. There are slums in the US, there are horrible living conditions some places in the UK, France, Germany, etc. It's not all sunshine and happiness and games. But, of course, I'm talking about impressions here. So, there you go. Now you've learned one more thing about socialist Hungary. Or should I say, the People's Republic of Hungary, because that was the name. So thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.